Hey guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay, guys, I'm back, and it is Friday, April 28th, and we are going to get into some Q-related news. There is a lot of it to cover and some really interesting stuff. I don't think I'll get through it all, but if not, I'll try to pick it up tomorrow and do more than one video. Actually, let me get out of this infinity screen because I know it drives some of you just right out of your minds, and I don't want to be responsible for that. Now, I did want to mention that we do have a community Discord channel, and I have not been out to it yet. I was not the one that set it up, but someone was kind enough to do that for us. So it is in the description below, and if you would like to join, then please do so. I have not been out there yet, but I intend to very, very shortly. So anyway, today I have been busy, and I have been investigating some stuff that I'm hoping to be bringing to you relatively soon in sort of a documentary video type of a little bit different than the format we have going here, but I want to get into that more now that I have a computer that can actually render long videos. So we should all benefit from that, from this new computer, and that is wonderful. I've got some really interesting things that I'm working on. There are some things that I've been interested in for several years. I've been studying it probably for close to 20 years now, at least 15 years. And so there are things that I feel very confident in discussing, but I want to be able to put it together properly so that I can explain it properly and make sure that everybody understands where I'm coming from and where I'm getting this information from and how I'm putting everything together. So you can look forward to that in the future. Hopefully it will be the near future. I'm working hard on it anyway. And we're going to get into some Q-related news, and I also wanted to say thank you guys, even to you guys like that are support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee every now and then. I really appreciate it. And there are people on Patreon that they contribute $1 a month, and you know what? That's perfectly fine. But I want to state that I do not expect, nor do I want anyone on a fixed or limited income that is having difficulty themselves contributing in any way, because that's the beauty of it. There are people that have more resources and that can buy me a coffee occasionally and make up for that, and that is absolutely fine. I never want anybody to feel guilty or that they need to or have to contribute in any way. We are a family here, and I want everyone to feel welcome always. So anyway, let's get into some Q-related news. I've got some really interesting stuff. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to get through it all tonight, but I'm going to try my best. So let's look at this first. I think you're going to find this quite interesting. Yeah, and not the part about the new belly fat melting recipe that's stunning doctors. That's not the part that we're interested in right here. Yeah. Okay, here it is. Boom. Even Bill Maher turns on pencil neck Adam Schiff. There was no big gun. Now it just looks like you're stalking him. Democrat lawmaker and anti-Trumper Adam Schiff went on Bill Maher on Friday night after the release of the Mueller report in the last 2 weeks. Shifty Schiff, who previously said he had evidence of Trump colluding with Russia, went on to discuss the findings in the Mueller report. Now, let's look at this. Schiff told Maher the report concluded that Russians were engaged in a systematic effort to interfere in our election, that the Trump campaign welcomed it, embraced it, built it into their plan, made full use of it, lied about it, covered it up, and then obstructed the investigation into it. Of course, the Mueller report said the exact opposite. That Trump and his campaign and transition team and administration did not collude with Russia and did not obstruct justice. Even Bill Maher got tired of Schiff's lies, telling him, but this was our big gun. Now it just looks like you're stalking him. Zing. Even Bill Maher gets it. Now, that's saying something. Give it up, Shifty Schiff. Yeah, I would say that it's time for him to give it up because now he's just embarrassing himself. But let's listen to this and pay close attention to his facial expressions, because you can certainly tell a lot about what somebody is thinking and feeling by their expressions, especially their eyes. So let's look at this.
But this was our big gun. Now it just looks like you're stalking him. I think in the eyes of the people who don't follow it that closely, which is most of the country, here's the thing about Bob Mueller. He's like the last person, maybe the last thing in America that left and right agreed on. Left and right basically agreed. This is a guy of honor. This is an honest guy. This is an honest broker. Whatever he says goes. Americans are not into details. Don't read it to me, Bob. Just give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down. The fact that he was like, I don't. If you couldn't impeach before, how are you going to impeach after, or should you?
Well,
were you on that?
Yeah.
You gotta love that. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm shocked actually that Bill Maher responded that way to Schiff. I really am, because to me, you know, he was the biggest anti-Trumper there was. But yeah, I think that's hysterical. Now it just looks like you're stalking him. Yeah, I mean, I think Adam Schiff is embarrassing himself. He knows he's going down, and he's just trying. It's like when you're falling, and you know you're falling from 100 stories up, and you know you're gonna, but you're flailing through the air anyway. That's kind of what I see happening to Schiff. He knows his end. He knows his end, but he's flailing anyway, and that's how I view it anyway. All right, let's go back now, because there's plenty of other stuff to get into. Now, I think you'll find this interesting as well. Interesting that the mainstream media is quiet about this, but then I guess we can't, we can't expect them to tell the truth, ever. So this from Laura Loomer, and I don't know, I do have a few issues with Laura Loomer, but I do appreciate what she's doing, and I do think that she certainly is telling the truth. I think she is a good reporter. She's a good investigator. Exclusive: St. Patrick's Cathedral arson suspect has same address as New York City mosque, but the NYPD silent. Gee, I wonder why. Can't imagine why they'd be silent about something like that, because let me see, if the arson suspect was a Trump supporter, don't you think they'd be all over that? Yeah, they would be. Or what if he was wearing a Make America Great hat? They'd be all over that. Or if he had a Q shirt, something like that, they'd be all over that. But apparently, him having the same address as a New York City mosque, meh. All right, here he is. Yep, fine, upstanding gentleman. Right. Following the highly suspicious fire at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France, a man carried two containers of gasoline and some lighters inside St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City on April 17th. New York Police Department said Mark Lamparello, 37-year-old, was arrested after entering St. Patrick's Cathedral with arson materials, and that he was also arrested on April 15th inside Newark's Sacred Heart Cathedral, where he refused to leave at closing time. Before entering St. Patrick's Cathedral, police said Lamparello booked a one-way $2,800 ticket on a 5:20 p.m. Thursday flight to Rome, Italy. There doesn't appear to be any connection to any terrorist group or any terrorist-related intent here, said John Miller, the New York Police Department's Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism. Well, he is ironic that he is the Commissioner of Intelligence, because I would say that there is possibly a connection. Wouldn't you? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's not. Upon entering the cathedral, Lamparello was noticed by a security guard who said he alerted NYPD counterterrorism officers who just happened to be on the scene outside the cathedral when Lamparello arrived. Great timing? Coincidence? Do counterterrorism agents always hang out at cathedrals? Well, apparently they do. NYPD counterterrorism officers arrested Lamparello, and he was charged with attempted arson, reckless endangerment, and trespassing. But it appears as though NYPD is either being dishonest or their investigators need to brush up on their counterterrorism knowledge in the post 9/11 era. You see, after Lamparello was arrested, it was revealed that he is a philosophy instructor who has taught philosophy at New York City's Lehman and Brooklyn colleges at Seton Hall University in New Jersey. He was described by the media as a Catholic who also served as a music director at New Jersey Catholic Church. Why would a devout Catholic teacher attempt to burn down one of the most famous cathedrals during Holy Week when Catholics around the world were preparing to celebrate Easter while mourning the Notre Dame Cathedral fire in Paris? Why indeed? So why would he book a one-way ticket to a foreign country when he was a college professor? That's another good question, isn't it? The only reason someone would book a one-way ticket out of the country is if they knew in advance that there was a possibility they weren't coming back home. Of course, this doesn't add up at all. So I did some research into Mark Lamparello and started with a basic address search. A background check into Lamparello that has been verified by law enforcement sources who wish to remain anonymous provides the following address for Lamparello and lists it as his most recent address. 1781 East 16th Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11229. Mark Lamparello, phone number include. Mark's possible relatives include. Mark's recent address, 1781 East 16th Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11229 to 2981. Mark previously lived at 1781 East 16th Street, apartment D4, Brooklyn, New York, 11229 to 2980. And let's look down here. Yeah, that is the address, apparently, for Al Madina Mosque. Well, what have we here? After I discovered that Lamparello's Brooklyn address was the same address as a mosque, I searched for more recent photographs of Lamparello to see if his physical appearance suggested he had converted to Islam. It's worth noting that Lamparello also has an address in New Jersey, which is the address the media is primarily focusing on. Gee, I wonder why they're doing that. Wonder why they'd focus on his other address. Can't imagine why. Now we know why the media is avoiding his Brooklyn address. Yes, we do now, don't we? Now, anything there suggests that he might have converted? Gee, I don't know. All right. A recent photograph of Lamparello indicates that Lamparello may in fact have converted to Islam. If he did in fact convert to Islam, being a Muslim and leaving Catholicism would explain why he, as a devout Catholic, woke up and decided he was going to attempt to burn down a cathedral. Yeah, that might be a good reason. I don't know. I mean, if you needed a reason, I don't know. People that, I don't know, I think you have to be a little bit off-center to want to burn down something anyway. On Wednesday, Lamparello was charged with attempted second-degree arson for the April 17th incident and faces up to 15 years in prison if convicted. The prosecutor, David Stewart, told Judge Kevin McGrath during a video arraignment in Manhattan Criminal Court he, Lamparello, was present at the church the day before and was present at the church for more than an hour before walking in that night. His intent? To burn down St. Patrick's Cathedral, Mr. Stewart said. Well, I think that's pretty obvious. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Stewart said investigators obtained phone messages and other materials under a search warrant that indicated Mr. Lamparello intended to start a fire and had spent considerable time planning and surveilling the location. The facial hair on Lamparello's face is classic Sunna beard, which is worn by Islamic men, particularly Islamic converts. In a previous picture, Lamparello wore a shorter beard, but the growth and specific way his beard is trimmed indicates that Lamparello may have converted to Islam. Now, not only does he have the beard, but Lamparello also has a zambiba on his forehead. A zabiba is a pear bump mark on the forehead of some Muslims due to the friction generated by repeated contact of the forehead with the prayer mat during daily prayers. While the prosecutor said there is evidence Lamparello spent time planning to burn down St. Patrick's Cathedral, Lamparello's lawyer, Christopher Di Lorenzo, excuse me, said his client suffered a psychiatric episode. Yeah, I'd say. Lamparello watched Wednesday's proceeding over a closed-circuit video link from Bellevue Hospital Center, where he sat in a hospital gown with Di Lorenzo. It is clear that Mr. Lamparello suffered from a psychotic episode, Mr. Di Lorenzo said on Wednesday, and the events leading up to this and including the incident at St. Patrick's Cathedral support this conclusion. Well, yeah, okay, they're going to say that he's mentally ill, but I don't know. One could argue that Islam is in fact psychotic. Islam is an ideology that calls on its adherents to conquer and kill. In the Quran, it states that non-believers must be killed or forced into submission. All throughout the Middle East, Christian churches have been desecrated and burned by Muslims. 3 days before the Notre Dame Cathedral mysteriously went up in flames and burned, a Muslim woman was charged for planning to blow the cathedral up, leading many people to believe that the fire at Notre Dame during Holy Week was hardly an accident or construction fire, as the media and French government was saying, all while the cathedral was still in flames. Well, yeah, I don't for a minute believe that the fire in Notre Dame was accidental, especially when you look at the fact that in 2018 there was 875 churches burned in France, Christian churches. Yeah, not a coincidence. All right, so that's it. I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritty of this, but I did want you to see that because it's very interesting, and thank you, Laura Loomer, for bringing that to people's attention, because the media would never have done so, and we know that for a fact. All right, let's go back to Q. Not Q. We're not going back to Q. We're going back to news. And look at this. More social justice warrior craziness. All right, museum forced to adopt gender-neutral pronouns for ships after offended social justice warriors vandalize signs. So now it's not proper to refer to a ship as a she, which has always been. I mean, I'm not offended by that. Are any of you men offended by that? I don't know. Somebody's offended. Somebody somewhere is highly offended by this. I guess they just don't have enough real problems in life. Yeah, so anyway, a maritime museum in Scotland has been forced to change the pronouns of its ship to reflect gender-neutral codes of political correctness after offended social justice warriors vandalized signs for the second year in a row. Yes, really. So I'm not going to get into more of that. I just wanted to touch on that just to show you how ridiculous it really is getting. As if you needed any more proof. Let's go back to the news. No, really. Let's. Okay, now let's look at this. A little bit of good news. ABC, Washington Post poll, impeachment support sinks to new low. Well, gee, I wonder why. I wonder if it had anything to do with the Mueller report not finding any evidence of collusion and not finding any evidence of obstruction either. Do you think it's due to the fact that POTUS has been exonerated? Maybe. Maybe there are actually people out there that are intelligent and can look at the report and say, gee, no evidence here. Okay, let's drop it. But, there's still those few. Impeach 45. Impeach 45. We all know who that is. All right. A new poll shows support for impeaching President Trump has sunk to a new low following the release of special counsel Robert Mueller's report on now debunked collusion between the 2016 Trump campaign and Russia. All right, I'm not going to go and read this whole thing because it's not necessary. I just wanted you to be aware of that if you were not already. And I bet, I would strongly bet, well, I'm not a betting woman, but if I was, I would bet that in the next month, it's going to sink far, far lower. By the end of May, it's going to be really low. Because I think people over the next month, it's going to be a tough month for some people. And I mean the next month from now till the end of May. Because it's going to be tough for some people. Because some people are going to start to wake up. And I don't know about you, but when I started to wake up, not just to this stuff, but wake up in general. And I look at the fact when I first realized that 9/11 was not what they were telling us, that's when I first began to wake up, and it was painful. I remember sitting, I know exactly where I was. I remember, I was living in North Carolina at the time. I remember the house. I remember where I was sitting. I remember I was in front of my computer, and I remember just horror washing over me as I had researched and researched and researched and thought, okay, this isn't what they're saying it is at all. And that's when I started to wake up, and it's painful. It is painful because all of a sudden you realize, gosh, if what I believed about that isn't true, what else am I believing that isn't true? That's how my mindset went. And all of a sudden I was like, can I trust anything I'm hearing and seeing? So I think the next month it's going to be painful for some, but really I think by the end of May, I think a lot more people are going to have their eyes open. That's what I think. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll probably be wrong again. I don't know. I can't see into the future. I don't have a crystal coconut, but I think that chances are good I'll be wrong again. All right. Let's go back because you're here to hear the news. All right. Let's look at this, shall we? Now, I thought this was very interesting. This from the outlaw Josie Wales, who I have found to be, reliable. Now, good person to follow on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter. If you find me on Twitter, actually my Twitter is in the description below as well. So look me up on Twitter, and if you want me to follow you back, just send me a little note asking me to follow you back, and I will. If I don't, then ask again, because sometimes my notifications get long and I might miss somebody, but never intentionally. Anyway, the outlaw Josie Wales is a good person to follow on Twitter. How familiar are you with the real Nicolas Cage? I thought this was a little bit interesting and related, really. Now let me see. Let me make this a little bit bigger if I can, because it's hard to read, and I know some of you are on your smartphones and it's even harder to read. Okay, it says it was not that long ago that this sometime A+ list, mostly movie actor who really hovers at the AA list range, had to sell a lot of stuff. Now I remember that. Much like Johnny Depp, he had a ton of houses and possessions, but not enough cash flow. He also owed the tax man a ton of money, so he had a fire sale and signed up for some easy paychecks. Road to recovery. One of the things he didn't sell, that most people don't even know he owns, is a motel. Located in the heart of Koreatown here in Los Angeles, it is next to what Koreans call a room salon. It is a place where men gather and have drinks served to them by barely dressed, barely legal women. There is a lot of groping, and oftentimes money is exchanged, and the men want to have sex with one of the women, enter the motel. Our actor has owned it for close to 2 decades. It is said he gets a cut of whatever the men pay the women, plus the hotel room charge, plus, of course, a never-ending supply of PORN. Each room is, I have to do that for the algorithms. I'm sure you already realize that. Each room is completely wired for video and sound. The actor spared no expense and has 2 technicians who make sure everything is running smoothly. Over the last few years, the actor has enjoyed a direct-to-home video feed of each motel room. Our actor has also managed to capture on film several studio heads, athletes, agents, and managers. There have also been several local politicians. Our actor doesn't extort them for money, but makes sure that each of them knows he has a recording of them having sex with barely legal women. It is one of the reasons he gets paid double for crap movies and why he keeps getting booked for tons of movies despite all his personal foibles and addiction issues. And that was posted by ENT Lawyer. So very interesting. Now, Nicolas Cage also, because I lived in Louisiana and I actually used to drive every day to New Orleans, and he owned a place in New Orleans too, which actually was reportedly very, very haunted. And if I'm not mistaken, it was the home that, which I mean, haunted in New Orleans, that means nothing because so much of the French Quarter, it reports all sorts of goings on, supernatural. You can feel it there, really. You really actually can feel it. And I've had many, many people visit me from other places and come with me to New Orleans, and they say the same thing. They said, oh my gosh, you can literally feel something here. But anyway, there's a house there that was, I believe she is the most prolific female serial killer. She used to have slaves, and she would take the slaves upstairs, and the young slaves or whatever upstairs, she would do all sorts of medical experiments on them. Yeah, she wasn't a doctor, but she would do like horrific medical experiments. And I can't remember the name of the house. I could get back to you with that if anybody's interested. But it's absolutely a horrendous story, and it's a true story. And she escaped. They never did catch her because one of the mothers, the son was, I think it was the son that was taken upstairs, and she knew what would happen to him, to the son, and so she literally was chained to the stove actually, and she did something to cause the fire to burn it down because she figured that it was better to die and her son die than to face what he would face upstairs. So the house did burn down, but she did escape, and not the mother, but the serial killer. Anyway, that is the house that I believe Nicolas Cage bought. And I remember thinking, what kind of a person wants a house and wants it specifically because it is so haunted? Because I think that is what he said, that he wanted it because it just had so much activity in it. Yeah. So anyway, it burnt, but I mean, obviously it didn't burn down. It's like a brick kind of limestone house. Anyway. I can find out more about that if you want. I think I have pictures of it somewhere because I was really into photography when I was in New Orleans. But so, anyway, I'm chattering on like a mad woman. All right, let's go back and get into more. La la la. Okay, I can't remember what this is, but I bet you it's good. I don't think I would get anything, bad for you guys. I mean, only the best for you guys. All right, Hillary Clinton. Meet Hillary Clinton's other, much more powerful and shadowy opposition research firm. Oh, you mean there's another one? Apparently. Executives with London-based, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Hackliat and Company contributed thousands of dollars to 2016 Democratic presidential nominee's campaign. Yeah, so Fusion GPS has gotten all the headlines, but there was a second, even more powerful and mysterious opposition research and intelligence firm lurking about with significant political and financial links to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and her 2016 campaign for president against Donald Trump. The Meet London-based, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, I'd have to find out how to pronounce that, but you can see right here. Founded by 3 former British intelligence operatives in 1995 to provide the kind of otherwise inaccessible research for which select governments and Fortune 500 corporations pay huge sums. Whereas Fusion GPS was created by 3 former Wall Street Journal reporters with links to the U.S. intelligence community, HAKLUYT, with offices in London, New York, Singapore, Tokyo, and Sydney, was founded by an enterprising trio of former British intelligence operatives with deep connections throughout the world's official and corporate corridors of power and influence. So, isn't it interesting that, they have found another, and there's a lot here, and I'm not going to get into it all, but it's interesting. I should maybe put actually, I think I'm going to put the link to this in the description as well, just because there's a lot here, and time does not permit me to read every single article in its entirety because there is a lot here. So I think I will do that and move on. Now, this is this upset me quite a bit when I read this, and I think it will probably upset you as well. And the reason why, oh my gosh, here we are again. Brilliant trick melts belly fat overnight. What are they trying to tell me? Really? I mean, I'm getting insulted a little bit. Maybe this one. Okay. Look at this. A judge rules high school girls must shower with boys. Girls have no right to visual bodily privacy. Are you kidding me? You know, when I was 17 when I moved out of the house, and I moved to Toronto. That was the very first place I moved, and I put myself through college first. Here, college and university are not the same thing. College is 2-year trades program, 2 to 3 year trade program generally, and it would be what you guys would call an associate degree, whereas our universities are 4-year and you come out with a degree, a BA, whatever, or BS or whatever. So when I first moved to Toronto, I stayed at a university dormitory for the summer, and it was co-ed. Now, this was the first time I'd ever been, subjected to, co-ed. I mean, really. I mean, except for my brother, which I grew up with, which isn't really co-ed. But I don't know, it just was very odd for a 17-year-old girl to go into the bathroom and there would be a guy showering and come out like nude, shaving in front of, like, it didn't matter if there was women in there or whatever. It was completely co-ed, and I found that really intimidating as a young girl, as a teenage girl. That was just, I would wait until the middle of the night to shower because I was afraid of running into men coming in or out of the shower, or, I was afraid to be in there naked when a bunch of men could come in, and, I don't know. There's something really, really wrong with that, seriously. Boys who claim to be girls are dominating in girls' sports, and now those same girls who are being beaten by boys in their sport are also being forced to shower and undress in the same locker rooms with them. We can't thank the Obama administration and progressive Democrats for this nightmare. In May 2016, the Obama administration issued a guidance to all public schools that they should allow members of one biological sex to use the shower, locker rooms, and restrooms and stay in the same hotel rooms during field trips as member of the opposite sex or risk losing federal funding. A joint letter from the Department of Education and Justice stated that students who identify as transgender must be allowed to use the private facilities that match their gender identity with no medical diagnosis or treatment requirement. Now, girls in a Chicago area school district are paying the price for the open-minded decision of progressive politicians pandering for votes from the LGBTQ community. According to College Fix, a federal court has permitted a lawsuit to proceed against an Illinois school district that allows high school boys to use girls' locker rooms, restrooms, and showers in order to accommodate transgender students. But girls who don't want to be seen naked by boys got bad news. The judge ruled that they have no right to visual bodily privacy if the government says so. Dozens of families sued the Chicago Area Township High School District 211 3 years ago due to its policy letting students as young as 14 choose to use the locker room of the opposite sex. All of the students must use the restroom with the knowledge that someone of the opposite sex is present or could walk in at any time, the lawyer at the Alliance Defending Freedom wrote in background document on the case. It makes the stakes clear. If our government is powerful enough to command innocent school children to disrobe in the presence of opposite sex classmates, then there will be little if it will not be powerful enough to do. Township High School, District 211, did not initially choose to let biological males look at females in partial or total state of undress. The Obama administration's Department of Education threatened to take away federal funding in 2015 unless the school district changed its policy. It received $6 million in 2014. Though the district already allowed the male student at the heart of the complaint to shower and dress in private area of the girls' locker room, federal officials said the accommodation subjected the students to stigma and different treatment. The district changed the policy without telling parents or students, and girls found out when they walked into their restroom and came face to face with student A, the male student who identifies as female. And it says, I remember when Michelle Obama announces that she's running for president in 2020, that her husband allowed this travesty to happen in our country when they were still raising 2 young daughters. It's unconscionable that anyone thinks this invasion of our young girls' privacy is okay. What do you think? Should Democrats get a pass for fighting to allow boys to shower and change with young girls in their schools? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Well, you know, I'm old-fashioned, and I know that, but at 17, I was, and just away from home, I was not prepared to come face to face, which I did, with men in the bathrooms. And all of the bathrooms were co-ed. So you didn't have a choice. Now the bathrooms, you could go in and close the door, but still there could be a man in the stall next to you, or you could come out of the bathroom and there's a man using the urinal. And I don't think it's fair to the man, and I don't think it's fair to the woman. And especially teenage women are very, very, at that point in their life, they're very insecure about their body and about all of that. And I don't know. I can't speak for men. I don't know about teenage men if they're probably experience the same. I don't know. But I think I think they're asking for a lot of trouble. And I just don't think it's fair. And if that was my daughter that had to, I would be pulling her out of school. That's just the way I would think. I don't have a daughter. I've never had children. But I would not go along with that. All right. That's my opinion anyway. You may have a different opinion, and if so, put it in the comments below. All right, now, I wonder if I should stop here. Well, let me go on for a little while. I may even have enough energy to do another Q-related news tonight, but let's look and see. There may be some things that I definitely wanted to get to. Yeah, this is interesting. I wanted to get to this because this is something that has come out. Trump outs Judge Napolitano, says he came asking for SCOTUS nod, and that is the Supreme Court of the United States. So now, apparently, according to Donald Trump, and I do believe him, I have no reason to disbelieve him, President Donald Trump tweeted after Saturday's rally in Wisconsin an attack on Judge Andrew Napolitano, claiming the judge had come to him privately to ask for a Supreme Court nomination. Now, that's not the first time I've heard that, so I happen to believe it. Just one moment. Thank you to brilliant and highly respected attorney Alan Dershowitz for destroying the very dumb legal argument of Judge Andrew Napolitano. Trump began following his praise of Harvard professor emeritus Alan Dershowitz with an immediate pivot to an attack on Napolitano. Ever since, Andrew came to my office to ask that I appoint him to the U.S. Supreme Court, and I said no. He has been very hostile. Also asked for pardon for his friend, a good pal of low ratings, Shepard Smith, the president concluded. And there is his tweet right there. And hang on here. let me get this out of the way. Trump appeared to be referring to the fallout from the recently released Mueller report, which Napolitano has argued on his Fox News digital show, Judge Napolitano's Chambers, stands as proof that the president obstructed justice, which of course we know it doesn't. Prosecutors prosecute people who interfere with government functions, and that's what the president did by obstruction. Where is this going to end? I don't know, but I'm disappointed in the behavior of the president, Napolitano said, calling that behavior immoral, criminal, defenseless, and condemnable. Related, Roger Stone's shock and awe arrest is an American nightmare, says Judge Napolitano. Well, I believe that. Dershowitz responded to Napolitano's comments by noting during an appearance that on the Ingram angle that because it was within the president's purview to terminate the investigation or fire special counsel Robert Mueller, any attempts he made to do so could not be described as obstruction. In my introduction to the Mueller report, I go through the elements of obstruction of justice, Dershowitz explained. The act itself has to be illegal. It can't be an act that is authorized by Article 2 of the Constitution. So now it's true. Napolitano used to be very pro-Trump. Then something happened, and then all of a sudden he came back and he is like a huge anti-Trumper. So I happen to believe Trump because first of all, I don't think he would make that up, because I think that there would probably be some proof of that. And that's not the first time I've heard that Judge Napolitano wanted to be, appointed to the Supreme Court. So that is definitely not the first time. In fact, I've heard that repeatedly now. And now it's confirmed by Trump himself. So I would tend to believe it. And it would explain a lot, wouldn't it? Just interesting. And I thought that I would... if you weren't aware of it, bring it to your attention. All right, let's go back, see what else we have here. Now, let's look at this. What is this? Breaking. NBC San Diego reports that an off-duty U.S. Border Patrol agent who was in the Poway synagogue opened fire on the suspect and prevented the attack from being significantly worse. And of course, I'm sure we've all heard of the attack that happened near the synagogue. I have not actually had much of an update on that, but apparently it was stopped and prevented from being much, much worse by an off-duty Border Patrol agent. Isn't that interesting? So, all the negative attention that they have been getting, and also the fact that they are always trying to disarm the American public, and yet this isn't the first time that somebody with a gun has stopped an attack from being much, much worse than it could have been. So, yeah, just another reason why owning guns, or at least having the right to own guns, is extremely important, and they're in for a big fight if they're serious about taking them away, and we know that they are. They've been trying this for a very long time now to take our guns away, and there's all sorts of cases like this which are an argument against it. Okay, now we just looked at that, and this from Jack Prosobiec, and not sure what I think of him, to tell you the truth, because he seems to be, he was all pro-Q and then kind of turned against that, and I just don't know where he stands on everything, but I did include this. Working on a story this weekend related to the new text messages that goes far beyond anything we have reported yet. I have an idea how the pieces of it all fit, but waiting on confirmation from 1 to 2 nodes. Once this drops, it will be impossible to ignore the U.S. Secret Service involved. Interesting. Very interesting. So that's something that we are going to have to keep our eyes open for. Now, let's look at this, because this is a little odd, if you ask me. And this was in the Canadian news. We will declare war. Philippines I can't remember how to pronounce his name. I used to know. Gives Canada 1 week to take back garbage. So the Philippines is giving Canada 1 week to take back garbage or they will declare war on us. Now, I didn't know what this is about. I don't follow the Canadian news that closely, and I know that probably doesn't reflect well on me, but I do consider myself American, and I'm here, not because I want to be here, but because I need to be here for family reasons right now. But I just don't follow the news here that much because I'm far more interested in what is happening in the United States and the rest of the world. I guess I should be concerned about Canada, but our news is not free at all. I mean, it's worse than the US news, if you can imagine. It is. And so I don't trust anything I hear anyway. And it's hard in Canada. I mean, in the US, it's like things get out. Here, oh my gosh, it's like, no, it's like locked down tighter than a drum. It's hard to get information about anything here. Anyway, we will declare war against Canada over dumped garbage, says Duterte. I'm probably mangling his name, and I do apologize. Ottawa, the president of the Philippines, says if Canada doesn't take back tons of trash within the next week, he will declare war and ship the containers back himself. Canada violated international law by dumping garbage in the Philippines. Now, if that's true, which I would assume that it is, I would trust the Philippines over what the government in Canada says, and that's sad, but it's true. Because I think that if Trudeau's mouth is open, he's lying. Every time he opens his mouth, it's just another lie. That's how I feel. But Filipino media outlets are reporting that Rodrigo Duterte made threats Tuesday about dozens of shipping containers filled with Canadian household and electronic garbage that had been rotting in a port near Manila for nearly 6 years. More than 100 of the containers were shipped to Manila by a Canadian company in 2013 and 2014, improperly labeled as plastics for recycling. Customs inspectors discovered they actually contained garbage, including soiled adult diapers and kitchen trash. Canada has been trying for nearly 6 years to convince the Philippines to dispose of the garbage there, even though a Filipino court ordered the trash returned to Canada in 2016. Last week, a British Columbia lawyer said in a legal brief that Canada is in violation of the International Basel Convention, which forbids developed nations from sending their toxic or hazardous waste to developing nations without informed consent. Well, that does not surprise me. So Canada should take back their garbage. Gosh darn it. It's funny because really here you don't see garbage anywhere. And people, literally, people organize themselves and clean up trash all the time here. It's just, you just don't see the trash that you see along the highways in the US. And that's just a fact. So maybe that's why Canada's so clean. They're shipping their garbage to everyone else. I don't know. Who knew? Anyway, that's interesting. They're saying the Philippines are going to declare war on Canada. I'm not sure what kind of a war that would be. Because Canada doesn't, they're not really all that scary militarily. And I wouldn't think the Philippines would be either. So it would be kind of like one of these fights. Anyway. All right. I don't know. I find it funny. It isn't funny. It isn't funny at all, but how girls fight. That's what I picture. I picture the little potato, Trudeau, and this guy. All right, maybe not. Okay, let's go back here. I know somebody said, because I mess up all that, they said, for somebody so intelligent, you screw up a lot. And they said, you're no Amazing Polly, that's for sure. And I had to laugh because I do know who Amazing Polly is. I don't know her personally, but she only lives like an hour from me. And she does a very, very good job. But the thing is, I think that they were trying to insult me, but it just makes me laugh because I am who I am. And, I don't pretend to be anybody else, and I don't want to be anybody else. I'm me. So, yeah, I'm no Amazing Polly, and that's okay because you know, and I'm glad that she's professional, and I'm glad that people like to listen to her. I wish her all the success in the world. But no, I just want to be me. So there you go. So whoever was trying to insult me, it really didn't. Okay, now let me see here. What else do we have that I really must get to? Let me see. I think that's let me see. Well, let's take a look at this, and then we're going to call it quits. Can't remember what this is. From I Love My Freedom, and I do. Just in, Trump's FBI gets it done. Clinton official pleads guilty to treason for collusion. Well, well, well. A Clinton appointee pleaded guilty to treason charges after a federal grand jury indicted her for colluding with foreign agents, according to a press release from the Department of Justice. Candace Marie Claiborne, who worked under both Hillary and Bill Clinton, pleaded guilty to conspiring to defraud the U.S. government, concealing contact with foreign spies, obstructing an official proceeding, and making false statements to the FBI. Claiborne, a 60-year-old veteran State Department employee, possessed a top secret security clearance and concealed her extensive contacts with Chinese intelligence agents. The indictment indicates that Chinese spies lavished Claiborne with thousands of dollars in gifts as part of a pay-to-play scheme. In addition to cash payments, Chinese spies also paid Claiborne with vacations, an apartment, Apple Electronics, and tuition to a Chinese fashion school. Okay then. Suggesting she learned tricks from Hillary Clinton, her former boss, Claiborne also told her co-conspirators to delete all emails and evidence after they were busted by U.S. federal officials. Below is the statement from the DOJ on Claiborne and the indictment. Candace Marie Claiborne is a U.S. State Department employee who possesses a top secret security clearance and allegedly failed to report her contacts with Chinese foreign intelligence agents. Oh, I'm sure it was just an oversight. Who provided her with thousands of dollars of gifts and benefits. Claiborne used her position and her access to sensitive diplomatic data for personal profit. Pursuing those who imperil our national security for personal gain will remain a key priority of the National Security Division. Candace Claiborne is charged with obstructing an official proceeding and making false statements in connection with her alleged concealment and failure to report her improper connections to foreign contacts, along with tens of thousands of dollars in gifts and benefits they provided. As a State Department employee with top secret clearance, she received training and briefing about the need for caution and transparency. This case demonstrates that U.S. government employees will be held accountable for failing to honor the trust placed in them when they take on such sensitive assignments. Candace Claiborne is accused of violating her oath of office. As State Department employee who was entrusted with top secret information when she purposefully misled federal investigators about her significant and repeated interactions with foreign contacts. The FBI will continue to investigate individuals who, though required by law, fail to report foreign contacts, which is a key indicator of potential insider threats posed by those in position of public trust. Now, you know that they're starting with the lower order and they're working their way up. So, yeah. And I think it's interesting that it's saying the FBI will continue to investigate individuals who, though required by law, fail to report foreign contacts, which is a key indicator of potential insider threats posed by those in positions of public trust. Yeah, she was just doing what she saw her boss do, right? That's what I would think. And it says, poll, should crooked Hillary be tossed in jail? Claiborne began working as an office management specialist for the Department of State in 1999, which is when former President Bill Clinton was in office. She worked at the State Department up until her indictment, including when Hillary Clinton served as Secretary of State between 2009 and 2012. What do you bet that, yeah, well, you know, like I said, she's just doing what she saw her boss do, right? Hillary probably knew about it, didn't care. I mean, after all, she did sell uranium to our enemies, and she sold secrets to the Chinese, and she got several of CIA members that were working in China as spies she got them killed. Yes, she did. Not to mention Benghazi and Haiti, and well, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So, yeah, I think we'll all be happy to see her behind bars, and I pray that that happens. I pray that we are not being strung along, that it will really happen, because it needs to. That is, I don't know. I think that if you look in the dictionary under Jezebel, I think that you'll see her picture. I don't know. I don't know of a more wicked woman. Perhaps there is, but I'm not sure. Anyway, that is it for the Q-related news. I've touched on most of it. Well, there's so much. There really is so much out there. Really, I haven't touched on much of it at all. There's a ton happening, and it is impossible to keep up with it all. But I do try to bring you what I think that you might be interested in and what I think is important. So there you have it. I will be back tomorrow, hopefully. I don't foresee any reason why I wouldn't be at this point anyway. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and thank you so much for listening and tuning in. I appreciate it. I appreciate your subscribing and hitting the like button, and I know so many of you make me laugh because I uploaded the video with, it wasn't recording my screen, and you're all hitting like, and you all just say, oh, well, we just listened anyway. I'm thinking, you guys are the most tolerant people ever, really. So, and, you know, even when I upload a video that doesn't have sound, you know, I get all these likes, and I'm thinking, these people are too much, you know, like, they're so good-natured. It's just like, oh, yeah, we'll give her a like anyway. We feel bad for her. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. I hope you have a great night. I hope that everything, you have a wonderful day tomorrow, a productive day. And I will see you real soon, I hope. And because really, yeah, there's not much use me being here if you don't show up. So, yeah. Anyway, remember, seek truth because deception bites. Good night.